Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. It is Elizabeth here today. Cami is still on maternity leave, but I have a lovely guest with me today, Julianne Smith, and I am going to read her bio so you guys know a little bit about her. We are going to be talking about Pinterest today, kind of cleaning up your Pinterest to serve your creative business. It's been a long time since we've talked about Pinterest, so I think this is going to be a good refresher episode. We're probably going to learn quite a few new things as well, if I had to imagine. So without further ado, let me read Julianne's bio. She is a nationally recognized wedding accessory designer, digital media strategist, and small business educator. Julianne is the owner of The Garter Girl, a stylish wedding garter design company she started in 2004 after she couldn't find a wedding heirloom worthy of her best friend. The Garter Girl is known for stylish and meticulously handmade wedding heirlooms that are too pretty to toss. The Garter Girl and Julianne have been featured on NBC's Today Show, Lifetime, The Knot, Martha Stewart, Brides, and Glamour, as well as many top wedding magazines and blogs. Julianne helps creative small businesses throughout the wedding industry who are struggling and confused with their online presence, and she offers done-for-you services, online courses, and speaking engagements on search engine optimization, blogging, and Pinterest. Before creating The Garter Girl, Julianne was a political communication strategist, spokeswoman, and media specialist. She worked on Capitol Hill as a member of Congress and served in the White House's administration, which I think is the coolest because we've definitely not had anyone on before with any sort of resume like that.
It's definitely random, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, like, first of all, before anything else, why don't you tell us how you found yourself basically forming The Garter Girl? Obviously, you couldn't find a wedding heirloom, but that is such a big turn from being on Capitol Hill.
Right. It's about 0% applicable. No.
Uh-huh.
The transition was, well, it wasn't even smooth. It was just sort of a hard stop. So what happened was I was working in politics and then I got pregnant with my daughter, and I just knew that I couldn't kind of keep working in politics and media with a child. So I left my job and I stayed home for about a year before I realized that that wasn't for me. So that's when I said, well, I'm going to do this garter business, or I'm just going to kind of give it up. And this is me just still doing it. So just backing up, my mom is a seamstress. So I kind of grew up sewing. And when my girlfriend, I was a bridesmaid, and it was like everyone had their one thing, and she really wanted the wedding garter. And so I couldn't find one, and this was before like Etsy and sort of Amazon and all the things. And so I ended up just making it again because I sort of have that sewing background, and that is how the business started.
Okay. Lovely. I like that. And
yeah, there's like really no transition from politics to wedding garters. I wish there was, but there is none. Simply other than just, I was just home and I thought I'm going to do this, or I'm going to kind of give it up, because it was kind of always bubbling in the background.
yes, right. That makes sense. And I can see as well how maintaining a career on Capitol Hill in politics would be very difficult by like being a new mom at the same time.
Yeah, I will. And plus I am, at the time I wore my workaholic badge very proudly, and, there was no way for the kind of mom I always envisioned that I would be, plus the kind of employee that I always thought I wanted to be. I just knew that the two weren't possible.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So obviously I think you've probably helped to.
Yeah, I don't really work too well on the whole work-life balance. That's just
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us do struggle with that. And I was going to say, though, that for the Garter Girl, I'm imagining that you have helped to maybe advertise and market that through Pinterest a little
Yes.
bit.
Yes.
And so, which leads you to, of course, being here to talk to us today about that specifically. So I would just love to hear from you, like, your take on Pinterest. What is it intended for, and who do you think uses it the most? Like, let's just start with the basics of just things that we should know about this platform.
Yeah. So Pinterest is about one thing and one thing only, and that's inquiries. If you have a business, and especially in the creative or wedding industry, and you want inquiries, that's where people are and where they're hanging out. That's where your clients are. And, my whole job, mission, my whole goal for the, education side of my business is to help other creative businesses get those inquiries so they can get back to doing what they do best, right? Whether it's making the wedding garters, doing the calligraphy, et cetera, et cetera. But like, especially in the wedding industry, right? You're always on the hook to bring in new clients because we don't have repeat business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of this thing on your to-do list, always bubbling in the background. And, you can go to the networking events, you can, network with other peers, but how do you network with people who are in a position to hire you? And the way to do that online is with Pinterest.
Mm-hmm. And did you know that right away going in when you created the Garter Girl, or did somebody kind of like clue you into the fact of like, hey, you should check out Pinterest for your business? Or did you know that you wanted to go there right away?
No, not at all. So, well, first of all, I made my first wedding garter in 2004, and then my daughter was born in 2007. So I'm old. I mean, I started this business in 2008 before like Twitter was even around. And so, no, I did not know this. And actually, I always thought, oh, I'm going to sell my products to dress stores. I really started out as a wholesale business. And all the while, I had a website and then a blog, and I started getting sales on my own. And I realized, well, this is way better than having to cut my price in half and sell to dress shops.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is sort of how I fell into the e-commerce side of the business and starting being able to sell directly to customers. And, again, that's what Pinterest is about. It's about bringing in your own customers. It's about having that shop, right? Whether you're a brick and mortar store or whatever, you have to bring people in the door. And that's what Pinterest does. It brings people in the door of your business. And I really didn't, I first signed on to Pinterest, I think in 2009. So you didn't get into this, and I don't even think it was in my bio, but I used to own a blog for weddings in Washington, D.C. And I did that for like 6 years. And then I actually sold the blog because I couldn't kind of do the two different businesses. But point of the story is I had a assistant at the time, and she was like, if there's this thing, and if you could just like get on this platform and like share ideas with me and things you got going on, that would be great. And it was Pinterest. And she was like, I'll send you an invitation. It was invite only at the time.
Wow.
Exactly. And I was like, great. And so we would use it for the blog and like personally between us. And then we kind of started to see like a little bit of traffic and things kind of coming in from Pinterest. And same with the garter. I kind of saw like little things coming in here and there. And then Pinterest started to outweigh Google in terms of the incoming traffic. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, this is a thing. And then there was one year, and this was years ago. I remember I made this wedding garter, and it was, okay, so it was for Virginia Tech. So when I describe it to you, you're not like, this is so weird.
Okay.
Okay. So it was like it was orange with white polka dots and a maroon bow. And one year I kid you not, I made it probably a dozen times.
Wow.
And couples are coming, like brides were coming to me and saying, I saw this on your website. I want this. I saw this on your website. Or I am a from Virginia Tech and I want this. And I was like, this is so bizarre. Where is this coming from?
Okay.
Which is weird for me because I don't do a lot of like themed, like the majority of what I do is I make the garter out of their mother's wedding dress material. And it's like a very custom, we're working with the grandmother's veil, things like that. I don't do a lot of like theme things, right? That I would have an orange polka dot garter is like kind of not on brand for me, right? So, okay. And I went in and I looked and I basically figured out that this orange garter was floating around Pinterest.
Okay.
And that's when I was like, okay, we got to be like more formal about this Pinterest thing. Because if I make this orange garter one more time, we might have a problem.
Yeah, you're like, so I'm going to start putting out the kind of work I want to be getting.
Exactly.
And like, let's
I love those brides and they were great and wonderful, but it was more just like, oh, there's power in Pinterest here.
Yes.
And this is kind of the thing that I would say to sort of everybody out there is like, if you're on the internet, chances are your things, if you have a website and if you're a creative business, right, your work is probably out there already without you having to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the trick becomes, how do you put out what you want to get more back? How do you make sure that those people who are in a position to hire you are seeing what you want them to see?
Yes. And so at that point you started posting a little more to Pinterest and seeing some traction. Tell us too, like how do you think Pinterest is different from other social platforms and search engines in terms of like the way it operates?
Well, first and foremost, Pinterest is not social media.
Yes.
And I know everyone wants to say, oh, when I do my Instagram, my TikTok, my Pinterest, and that is where most creative businesses kind of get tripped up. They kind of apply the same mentality, the same tactics, the same strategies, the same everything to Pinterest that they're doing on, let's just say, Instagram, and it fails every time, and it's very, very frustrating. And people think the problem is Pinterest, but the problem is sort of your mindset. And the customer is the same, right? The customer that uses Pinterest also uses TikTok to be entertained, and they're using sort of all the different platforms, just like we use all the different platforms in our real lives. But it's the expectation that they have that is the biggest difference, right? I go to TikTok, I am bored, and I'm expecting to laugh or be entertained or just to be distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I go to Google, I'm like looking for a phone number, I'm looking for a menu, I'm like looking for a specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the same with Pinterest. Pinterest was actually started by people who used to work at Google. So a lot of what you'll see on Google is what you'll see on Pinterest. And Pinterest is actually the number 3 largest search engine in the world. So number 1 is obviously Google. And that's search with words, right? You do a search and there's just like a bunch of words.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2 is YouTube, which is owned by Google.
Yep.
And that's search with video, right? You do a search and a video comes up. And then number 3 is Pinterest, right? So, but that is a visual search platform. They call it a search and discovery platform. And that is visual search, right? You do a search on Pinterest and photos and now video comes up but not video like YouTube. It's like shorter form video.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's about the expectation. So the customer or pinner or whatever you want to call them, potential client, goes to Pinterest with a question, right? How much does a wedding cost in my area? What are the best flowers to use in the fall? What, in your case would be like, what kind of nibs do I use with, this? Like they go with the question and then Pinterest then gives them the answer. But Pinterest doesn't make or do anything. So they rely on us, the content creators, to provide those answers. So I know like people are like, no, but I'm a florist. No, I'm a calligraphy person. But in sort of all intents and purposes, you are a content creator,
mm-hmm.
even though you're not, an influencer, but by Pinterest's standards, you are considered a content creator. So
Yes.
welcome. You can add that to your hat of things you have to do.
Yes, I know. And I do tell people in this day and age, with as many platforms as there are out there, it is about finding the one that works the best for you. Maybe one or two, right? Because it's just like, especially if you are running a business on your own, like maybe you don't have outside help, maybe you don't have employees, you can't do all of them. I mean, it's impossible to do
Right.
TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, Reels, Facebook, whatever else is out there,
Well, yeah, and
blogging,
just live your
YouTube, you
life
know?
and serve your
Yes.
customers. I mean, again, that's where I come at when I do. So I have a bunch of clients and I manage the Pinterest for them. And it is very much about, and this is what I love the most about Pinterest. It is about doing what you need to do and then going back to doing what you like to do, or the people that are actually, paying your bills or doing your job or living your life, and this is what I love the most about Pinterest, is that Pinterest is designed to allow creators to do that. It's not a platform like social media where you need to be engaging. It's not a platform where you need to leave comments. You don't leave likes. As a pinner, you get your recipe or you get whatever you need and then you get off. You're not standing in line at the grocery store just like scrolling Pinterest because you're bored, right? You're scrolling like, what are the ingredients for that recipe? Because I need it. And that's kind of the difference. Like TikTok is like the entertainment, right? I'm standing in line. I'm totally bored. Is this person in front of me going to move any faster? Okay, well, no, I'm just going to scroll on TikTok and try to pass the time.
Yeah.
But Pinterest is very much like, I have a problem and now I need a solution. And that is the big difference, right? Like, so when you're on social media, I don't care what it is, it's about like being entertaining. It's about showing your personality. It's about showing your behind the scenes, right? So for me, for the Garter Girl, it's like showing that I'm the girl behind the Garter Girl, right? I'm not, a total psycho, and you should feel comfortable sending me your mom's wedding dress. Don't worry, right? But on Pinterest, that's not, right? So we take off the social media hat and we realize that it's all about our customer. It's their problems, what they need. They don't actually care who we are.
Yes, exactly. They just want to find what they're looking for.
Yeah, it feels dramatic to say like problems and solutions, right? Like a problem is like, oh, my dryer broke, I need to fix it, right? So I'm going to YouTube. But like, is it a problem that I don't know the best flowers for the fall in my area? It's not, it's sort of, I get it. It's like bizarre to kind of describe it as a problem, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and that simplifies it in people's minds to think of it that way, because that's the root of what everyone's doing in a business. Everyone who has a business is solving some type of problem for someone else. They don't want to do it themselves.
Yeah. And so as the business owner, you have to think about, okay, you got to put your customer hat on, right? What are their problems? What are they typing into the search bar? What do they not know about? And the amazing thing about the wedding and creative events industry is like, they don't know anything. They have no idea where to start. They've never done this before. They don't know. And that's where you can quickly become the expert. You can do that, know, like, and trust factor just by putting out what you know.
Yes, exactly. That's such a good point. Like, this is something in their life that they've never done before. Or we assume for the most part that people have never planned a wedding before. It might not always be the case, but tell us then, for people who are maybe starting off on Pinterest from scratch, because I definitely want to talk about how we can like clean up our Pinterest to better serve our clients in our business. But when you're starting from scratch, what things do you need to make sure you have in place on your profile that are kind of like, they're just your must-haves, if you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. And I love this because I am all about the Pinterest cleanup, setup, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's the most important part that people tend to miss. Everyone wants to jump right to the pinning. Tell me how to pin. Tell me how to do it. And again, it comes from the social media. Tell me how to post. Tell me what to do. And I think that a huge piece that most businesses miss is the setup. It's the setup of your account. And, again, they put the social media hat on. And a lot of times I see this, the Pinterest description looks more like a dating profile, right? They've copy and pasted their Instagram bio over onto their Pinterest account. And it's just not helpful because remember, again, it's not about you and getting to know you, the person. It's about solving their problems, right? So first things first, you got to set up your account. You got to make sure your account, like your title, your description, so Pinterest relies on boards. It's the way that they organize things. So once you set up your account, you do your title and your description, you then have the opportunity to create boards. So when you make a pin or, you upload a photo or a video, it's called a pin. You then have to put it somewhere. You can't just like willy-nilly just put it on there because then it would just look like a mess like our Instagram feed. And that's not what we're trying to do. They want you to organize it, right? So tell me where this pin or this photo belongs. So you can then, after you set up your title and your description of your whole account, then you have the opportunity to create boards. And again, it's the same as with your account. You have the opportunity to create a title and a description for all of your boards. And if businesses would just start there in the setup of the account, then they would be better served. They would never, listen, I have plenty of clients that we get through the setup process and then we start talking about, okay, what's kind of the pin strategy? And they don't have the bandwidth to do the pin strategy. And we kind of just leave the account, leave it as is, just fully kind of set up. And they have seen a ton of traction just from setting up their account properly. And what do I mean by setup? I mean, you have to tell Pinterest who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and most importantly, where you do it. So basically, you have to use words, which I know in the creative industry is like, what? I love it. What do you mean? You're telling me that on this visual platform, I need to use words. And yes, you need to use words. And I'll tell you why. Because the photo itself, the pin, the visual part, that is for your potential customer. That's what like hooks them in, right? But the words are for the little bot, the little Pinterest bot that's crawling around and it doesn't see pictures. It doesn't see that this is a photograph of a bouquet, right? But it reads words and it is reading all the words on your account. It's reading all the words on your boards. It's reading all the words on your pins and it's gathering information about you. So who you are, what you do, who you serve, where you serve them. So that when someone types in words, right? How much does a wedding cost in Washington, D.C.? They say, oh, I have the account for you because they have like 3 boards on weddings in Washington, D.C. and they have like, 100 pins on pricing and budgeting. And so the little bot knows to kind of show up your pins in that search. If you don't have those words on your account, the bot will never know. How would they know to connect you with someone who's interested in what you offer if you don't put those words out there?
Right. Exactly.
That's kind of like a long roundabout way of saying it's really important that before you start attracting your customers with those photos, you have to start by telling Pinterest what you do and sort of where you do it. And the reason why it's so important that you put the where is because, a lot of, especially creative businesses, are regionally focused, right? If you're living in Washington State, how likely is it that you're going to hire a calligrapher in Florida or Atlanta? I mean, like for me, I'm an e-commerce business, so the regional thing doesn't matter as much for me.
Right.
But for other businesses, especially small ones, especially in the wedding creative business, it's important to put that geographical note on there, if you will.
Yes, very important. And how much too, this wasn't something that I had written down, but in terms of like,
well, then you're not allowed to ask.
in terms of like getting things set up, I've always been curious, like how much needs to be your own content, and then how much are you pinning other content? Like if you're adding content to a board, I guess.
Yeah. So this is where I go against the grain a little bit, but this is how I've been so successful. So I never have. I do not pin other people's content. And I'll tell you why. Because when you put up a pin on Pinterest, so let's say it's like 5, I don't know, invitations that would be great for a fall wedding, right? And you're like, click here to see these 5 invitations. When you click through, that is going to a website, right? It's going somewhere. And I want that traffic to come to my website. I want that traffic. Now, if I pin, let's say, something from the Knot, or even like maybe I was featured on a blog and I pin that, but those links on those pins go to that blog, or they go to the Knot, or they go wherever, that's helping the Knot. That's helping that particular blog. It's not helping my business. So I would rather not pin than pin other people's content. And I'll tell you, so this started back when Pinterest first started, where people kind of really misunderstood the platform. Again, they had their social media hat on, and they was like, you've got to pin 70% of other people's stuff, and you've got to really curate your feed just like they were doing on Instagram. And you don't want to seem braggy or showy, and you don't want to just be only pinning your stuff. But that was a fundamental misunderstanding of sort of how the platform worked. Because again, as we just talked about at length, is like, it's not social media. People don't care that my feed is curated. And most times people don't even see my sort of Pinterest feed. It's not Instagram. I'm not trying to show that I'm like an amazing curator of images. It doesn't matter the other things that I pin, because they're going on with their problem, right? What is day of paper goods and why do I need them? Like, what do I need to have a menu for my wedding, right? What's an escort card? They're going on with these questions, and they just want the solution. They don't care that I can, pin a certain curation of things. And so that's why pinning other people's content has like zero benefit at all. And in fact, it's like super confusing to the algorithm, because for a couple reasons. But like, one, let's say you're just sort of pinning like stuff to kind of curate your feed. You're really confusing the Pinterest bot, because you're like, again, the bot, like I said, it was gathering all this information about you so that it knows to kind of serve you up. But if you're pinning generic content or content that sort of isn't serving your business, the little bot gets confused. And the other thing is that it confuses like your traffic, right? So you see these accounts and they have these huge traffic. They're like, millions and millions of engagements, but all they did was pin like the viral bread recipe, and all that traffic, all that virality, if you will, all that engagement, it shows up on their account, but they didn't create the pin and they aren't reaping any benefit from it. But except that it shows in their engagement number. But like, if you come to the Garter Girls account and you see that I have anywhere from 3 million to like 1 million, 2 million engagements, that's all with my content. All of it. Every one of that is my content, my business, going to my website, things like that.
So it looks like you have a lot of like images on your boards that are potentially like other products, but they're coming from a blog post on your website. And so like, then if I go look at the blog post, I'm like, oh, I can see that this shirt or this wedding robe, you've clearly listed where it can be purchased or where it can be bought, but it's coming up on like a blog where you're recommending all of those items, which then allows you to like pin those images and them to come back to your site. And then they could like click through to purchase that if they wanted to.
Yes. So in addition, I have the Garter Girl, like where I make the wedding garters, but I also have a blog, because, I'm like a recovering blogger.
Once a blogger, always a blogger, Julianne.
Right? I can't get it out of my system.
I'm the same.
Yeah, it's like this bad habit I can't shake. But no, so on the Garter Girls blog, we do blog about more than just wedding garters. And, I do a lot of affiliate linking through my blog, and we make quite a bit of income that way. But, that's just like the multi-passionate entrepreneur, right? You got to have all the different revenue streams.
That's great. That's really great.
But yeah, so again, it always is kind of coming back to my business. But I love a blog, and as you do too, but I will say, especially in the creative business, you do not have to have a blog to be successful on Pinterest. I call blogging like the B word in the wedding industry. People hate it. They like see me coming and they're like, oh my God, that's the girl with the blog. I mean, when I sold the blog, I was doing these like blogging like workshops, and it was like everyone was like reluctantly coming. They're like, I hate my blog so much. And they're like, but I know it's so important. And like, they're like, there's the blogging girl. I mean, I just was like, this is miserable to talk about because everyone hates their blog. And I can tell you, I have had, I don't know how many clients in the past year, and not one of them was I pinning to their blog.
Okay.
I know.
You were creating images and content that just link to their site then?
The best part about being in the wedding and creative industry is that we have what Pinterest wants, and that is beautiful images. I mean, I'm in all these like sort of, I'm a mentor in like other Pinterest groups and for other industries, and like they're all so jealous of the wedding industry because we have gorgeous images all the time on repeat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a photographer who comes to my house every week. Every week I have like a new stash of like 50 images. Right? If you're planning a wedding or you're designing invitations, like every weekend you have like a new stash of gorgeous images that are super creative, super inspiring, super beautiful, because we don't do like ugly things in the wedding industry. Like it's what we do. It's tailor-made for Pinterest. It's beautiful. It's visual, right? And so what I do is, if you don't have a blog, is what most businesses have are galleries. Right? It's whether it's like a gallery of your custom work, or, if you're a wedding planner, it's like profiles of different couples and things like that. So we're taking those images that they have and redirecting them to other places on their website if they don't have a blog.
Yeah.
But most creative businesses have some kind of gallery. We just call it gallery, even though you and I both know, wink, wink, it's a blog.
Yeah, or like portfolio. That's like
another journal. Yeah, I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but it's a blog. But we don't call it the blog because people don't. Creative businesses don't like the B word.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, you can pin to your gallery. You can pin to any page on your website. Worst comes to worst, you can put to your homepage. I mean, it's not preferred, but it gets the job done, because I think, again, going back to what we started this whole conversation with, what I love the most about Pinterest is about like putting your work out there, putting your solutions out there, and going back to doing what you do. It's not the kind of thing that you need to be spending hours a day or even hours a week on. It's very pre-scheduled, it's very organized, it's very strategic, and then we do it and then we move on. We don't need to be writing captions or being clever or, engaging. We post and then we move on.
Yep. I know. I've heard from people that, like you said, that Pinterest can be a very low time commitment. You just have to kind of sit down, know what you're doing for the day. It could be 15 minutes. You get the pins on where you want them, and Pinterest, any of these platforms respond to you interacting with them. So if you're taking that intentional time just a little bit every day to put some new pins up, maybe you used Canva to design some pins. That's, where I love to design things, but it will respond to that.
I personally pre-schedule all my pins.
That's great. Yeah. Even better, because then you can do it once a week.
If that. I mean, I like once a month, maybe. Okay. If that. I mean, again, I'm not going to lie, there is time in the setup, right? You got to sit down, think about your boards, think about who you are, what you do, the kind of boards you want, right? Once you build those, then you can kind of move on to the pinning. So there is a time investment, but it's a one-time investment in the setup, right? Or the cleanup, as the case may be. Then we're talking about our sort of daily, weekly, monthly, our pin strategy. What does that look like, right? And so for me personally, again, because I'm trying to get back to serving my clients and living my life, I really like a scheduler. Personally, I like to use Tailwind. I know that there's a lot of other Pinterest partners out there, Planoly, Later, Hootsuite, they all offer it. For me, I think the one that was designed for Pinterest and works the best is Tailwind. But the point is you can pre-schedule them. And that way, you can just, again, listen, I think the same is true. Like, this is where it is similar to social media or to Instagram. I think it comes down to like sort of where you're making your money, right? And if you're an influencer on Instagram and that's where you're making your money, or you're a YouTuber, yes, you need to be posting like multiple times a day and you need to be worrying about all the things. And, if you're a YouTuber and you're making money off your YouTube videos, yeah, you need to be like really on it and be posting all the time and doing all the things. But like, if you're designing custom invitations or you're making wedding garters, like that's where you're making your money. It's not on Pinterest. But you need Pinterest to bring in those inquiries. But you also need to not compare yourself to someone who is a blogger and they're making money off of their blog. So your pin strategy is going to look completely different than someone who's like an influencer, right? I have a client and she's like a fashion influencer, and like her blog strategy looks completely different than my other client who owns a wedding dress shop, which looks completely different than my other client who's a photographer, right? It's like your strategy really has to kind of match the business that you're in. And I think sometimes the strategies can kind of look the same when you kind of don't know any different.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
I think that's where sometimes, like, if you're a blogger, maybe you don't need to be pre-scheduling. Maybe you actually need to be on Pinterest and kind of, I don't know what that looks like, but like, I can just tell you that I've grown like multiple accounts by pre-scheduling.
I mean, I think anyone who can batch tasks is going to make better use of their time. So like, I would be very, very pro scheduling. Yeah. I know that I did like a challenge years ago where they had just said, all you need is 5 to 10 minutes a day, and that was what they were just trying to help like build the habit. But for overarching like long-term goals, like absolutely, if I could sit down and schedule once a month. And that's what I used to do like the beginning of 2020. I was like doing that with my Instagram because I didn't even want to like touch any of that anymore. I was like kind of, wanted to distance myself a little bit.
Well, I see this with other industries. They say, again, because I'm in some of these like Pinterest groups and stuff, and I just keep having to go back to like, listen, the time savings that I'm getting by batch scheduling, pre-scheduling is worth sort of whatever like hit I would take on engagement. Again, if you're a blogger, you need that engagement on Pinterest because you're trying to sell those sponsored pins or whatever it is you're trying to do. But for me, I'm trying to get those like inquiries into my business, and I don't need like 100,000 inquiries. I need like 1 or 2 that are going to hit.
Yeah.
So again, it's different needs and different expectations. And I'm willing to kind of not get that like viral engagement on Pinterest. And I'm willing to just get the time savings that I can by pre-scheduling everything so that I can get back to actually, doing my job.
Yes, right. Which makes a lot of sense that there's other things that we need to be spending our time on.
Yeah. Well, so I own, the Garter Girl, obviously, but I also do a lot of like Pinterest education. And I think that's like where I'm coming at this is like, I understand where Pinterest falls on your priority scale because I am also doing the same things too, right? I have 3 kids. I've got like a husband and a job and clients and family and Like I get it. I totally understand where Pinterest needs to be. And it's pretty low.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need those inquiries.
Yeah.
So it's like this catch-22. And that's why I love like the pre-scheduling, and I love the fact that I can just kind of like be very black and white about it. Like, this is a photo of a wedding garter. It was custom made, and it's got lace, and you know, it was made from mom's wedding dress, and now we're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't need to be cute and clever and all the things.
Right. Exactly. I know, because sometimes you have to feel like you have to be cute and clever if you're on like Instagram or social media or whatever it may be.
It's entertaining. They want to get to know you. They want to see, again, for me, I keep going back to this, but like they want to see the girl of the garter girl. They want to know that when they're sending their grandmother's veil to me, I'm a human being. I'm a real person. I'm not going to like destroy it. I'm going to respect it. I'm going to take care of it. And that's important on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
On Pinterest, they're like, oh my God, the wedding is this weekend. Last minute, you know, wedding gift, right? Last minute, you know, or like, I don't know, help. It's a very like, give me my solution.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Google.
Yes.
Kind of give me my solution.
Yeah. I said this beginning. I mean, it was started by people who used to work at Google. And, you know, an active and robust Pinterest strategy will improve your Google standings too. I mean, how many times have you Googled and like the top things that come up is a Pinterest board?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
no, it's so true. Or a pin of some sort.
A pin of some sort. I mean, Google uses something like over 300 factors to rank a website, and one of them is incoming traffic. Well, we know that incoming traffic to your website isn't coming from Instagram, right? No one clicks through. They might click the link in bio, but they're not really like going to your website.
Yeah.
But Pinterest is driving all that traffic to your website. And so it's going to help your Google standings too.
Yeah, completely agree. So for people, switching gears a little bit, for people
are like, oh my God, she just added all this stuff.
No, you're good. No, I love it. I like it when our conversation, it just becomes like very natural rather than just like a list of questions. So no, I really enjoy it. For people who are maybe have been doing Pinterest for a little while, but they're kind of thinking to myself like, Julianne, I'm struggling. I don't feel like the strategy is right. I don't think I'm going about this in a good way. What recommendations do you have about cleaning up your Pinterest if you already have one?
Yes. So first you can call me. No, I'm just kidding. So
well, that too.
Yes. No, you can come find me. I will help you. No, it's really just, I know this is scary, but like stop pinning. Just stop and really evaluate your strategy. Look at your boards. Look at your whole account. Do you have like recipes? Do you have like fashion? Do you have home decor? Like, are you renovating a bathroom and yet you have all these like pins about your bathroom? That's great. And I use Pinterest personally, but if you are your website, right, and you have that little like Pinterest P at the bottom or the top or wherever you have it, then your Pinterest account needs to be in service of your business or your brand. And so that means all the personal pins, they need to go. You need to either delete them, you need to move them to secret, or you just need to set up a separate personal pinning account.
Mm-hmm.
It's first just looking at your pins, and it's like, does this whole Pinterest account like serve my business? Does it serve my people? Does it serve my brand? After you've like taken sort of a look at the pins, you can then look at your whole account. And it's what we kind of talked about. Does my account say who I serve? Does it say where I serve? Does it say what I do? Is there any kind of like keyword, if you want to use that phrase, or Googleable phrase or searchable phrase in my title and in my description? Or is it just kind of saying, well, I help couples dream their reality? Like, what is that? What kind of couples? What is dream? Like, dreaming what? Like, tell me, they're called keywords, but put those keywords into your description. And all keywords is just those little like searchable phrases.
Right.
So for my case, it would be like wedding garters, or like instead of saying like I make beautiful heirlooms or I make heirlooms, I say I hand make wedding garters for brides and families, right? And so the keyword would be like wedding garters, heirlooms, things like that. Like it's very specific, which can feel uncomfortable because it's not sort of how we talk. But again, getting back to like the little robot, it needs those words. You have to tell it. If you never say the word wedding garter, how are they going to know when someone types in wedding garter? How's it going to know to show your pin? And that's all Pinterest cares about. They just want to match up the pinner with their answer. Because if you don't get the answer, think about it. If you type in like chicken taco recipes, right? And you get a bunch of beef enchiladas and some fiesta party decorations. You're like, well, Pinterest stinks.
Yeah, it didn't do what I asked it to do.
Didn't give me what I want. And that stinks. For you, you blame Pinterest. But Pinterest is going, sorry, I didn't have any accounts or pins that had that.
Right.
So if you want to be found for chicken tacos, then you got to put that on your account.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you have chicken tacos, but you're a wedding planner, you got to get those recipes off your account.
Yeah, I envy food bloggers, honestly. I feel like Pinterest was made for them, right? The amount of people that go to Pinterest to find food, I mean, that's what I use Pinterest for.
Totally. And again, but Pinterest was also tailor-made for the wedding creative industry. Because you have people, pinners, who've never done this before. They're clueless. And when they have those like embarrassing questions, right? How much does a wedding cost? What's a globo? What's an uplight? They can ask a friend, but the friend probably doesn't know because they're not a wedding and professional. What's a rental? That's my favorite one. What's a rental? They're going to, I'm going to type it into Google or I'm going to type it into Pinterest and they're going to get their answer. And that's it's like that trusted friend who actually knows the answer.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely can feel that way too, especially because, I mean, I know Pinterest's algorithms as well. So then they start showing you what you're already looking for, and you're looking for wedding things. It's going to show you more wedding things.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too about the Pinterest algorithm. It's not based on, and this drives home what I was saying about the search earlier, is like, it's not based on who you follow. It's based on your search. So they have what's called a smart feed. So when you open up the Pinterest app or your desktop, wherever you're at, when you open it up, what you see is different than what I see. Because my most recent searches were different than your most recent searches. So again, it all gets back to that search. And that's why it's so important. Whereas like on Instagram, for example, when you open up the app, you see a compilation of the people that you follow. It's totally different than how Pinterest works.
Yeah, very much
which is based on your search.
Very different. All right, let's talk a little bit too, because starting to wrap up a little bit, and it's great because so many of the questions that I had written down, you have like answered through
okay.
other answers. I don't think we missed something. The one thing though that I do want to talk about a little bit is like vanity metrics, because I think we all struggle with this.
Yeah.
We want more followers, we want more views, we want more likes. So let's talk really briefly, like, how important are your Pinterest views and what are the stats that we should be focused on?
Well, again, I know there's a lot I love about Pinterest, but I love this part about Pinterest is that the size of your account doesn't matter. There's no quote unquote vanity metrics that matter because 97% of searches on Pinterest are unbranded. What does that mean? It means that like I'm not going in, if I'm looking for a recipe, I'm not going in and typing into Pinterest, typing the Pioneer Woman. I'm going in and I'm typing like chicken, rice, things like that. Or if I'm looking for like celebrity outfit ideas, I'm not typing in like Kim Kardashian or whatever. Whereas like I'm on Instagram, it's like, I want to see what she's up to. I want to see, their personal stuff. And so searches are unbranded, right? They're like fall like fashion ideas or fall wedding ideas, things like that. That's what you're typing in. Now, again, when we were talking about the search and the words and the whole thing, this matters because any size of your account can be successful. Like little old me, right? My like laptop in my little, basement office is like crushing it on Pinterest. I have like millions of monthly engagements compared to like, someone like the Knot, who again has like millions too, but like I can be just as successful as these big accounts.
Yeah.
Pinterest doesn't care about the size of your account. Again, like on Instagram, like they care, right?
Yeah.
It matters your engagement. It matters how many likes your photo got. Pinterest does not care at all. Again, what they care about is, does your pin answer the search query? Does it solve their problem? That's what they care about. They don't care how big your account is. They don't care how many followers you have. They don't care how big your business is. And so that's why the only sort of metric that matters is like how much business you're getting from it, how much traffic you're getting into it. There's no like sort of metric that would even matter externally.
Right. Like, and mainly just from an internal perspective, I just want people to know that it's like
that was a lot. I didn't even answer the question.
No, it's everything you said is like really good because I love thinking about it that way, that everyone's on an even playing field in a way that you added so much more to the answer.
Like think about it. You get your recipe, right? You don't actually go to that person's Pinterest profile. In fact, most times you don't even know who it came from.
Yeah.
You want the recipe. That's why like how many followers you have, how many like any kind of public information you would see on someone's Pinterest profile, it doesn't matter. You're not even looking at it. I mean, it's there. It's not like you're hiding it. Put the little P on your website, people can click over and see it. But like the average pinner is not going to someone's Pinterest profile again because they don't care. They don't want to get to know you. They're like, give me my recipe. Give me my like day of timeline. Give me like what I need. And then I'm on to, everything else I need to do. And so totally different. But I would say though, just like from a business perspective, like what metric matters? The metric that matters is like, your conversion rate.
Yep.
And I'm not here to talk about websites or anything like that, but it's like if you're getting, X number of click-throughs from Pinterest per day, per week, per month, whatever, are you getting those conversions? Meaning, are you getting those sales? Are you getting the kind of inquiries that you want? But again, and you've talked about this so much on the podcast, right? Like the conversions and making sure that your website looks the way it needs to be and your brand and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole nother conversation, like website conversions. But it's just, are you getting the sales that you want? Are you getting the number of inquiries that you want?
Yep.
Again, just to bring it home to politics, we always used to talk, is it like when something wasn't landing or something wasn't hitting, it's always like, is it the message or the messenger? Right? So in this case, it's like, is it kind of the traffic you're bringing in from Pinterest? Or is it what they see when they come to your website?
Yep.
And meaning like, are you putting out sort of maybe like really kind of low budget stuff, but maybe you want to do more high budget stuff, right? Or are you putting out stuff on Pinterest, but you're not putting the regional qualifier on there, so you're getting a bunch of inquiries from people who aren't in a position to hire you, right? There's a lot of like things you can fix and tweak in terms of kind of what you're putting out on Pinterest. But if you're getting the traffic, but you're not making those sales, that's like a website question that I'm not qualified to answer. Right. And if you know, then you really should contact me because I'm all about the conversion rate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been absolutely lovely. It has been so fun talking to you about all things Pinterest, and I can just tell how passionate you are about this platform.
I know. I do get a little worked up, don't I?
Yeah, no, but it's great. Like, we want to have people on the podcast who are passionate. There's no fun listening to somebody who doesn't light up when they talk about what they do. So tell us.
I just really love it from the perspective of like, I just want to do this and be done. I don't want to have to think too hard.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a photo of a wedding garter, done. Like,
Done.
I don't want to have to be any more creative than I already am.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tell everybody where they can find you, Julianne. So like your website,
Yes.
a little bit about the services that you offer. I do know that you help people. You do some one-on-one Pinterest consulting or account overviews, things like that. And your Instagram and your Pinterest. Tell us all the things.
So, well, if you're in the market for a wedding garter, you can find me at Garter Girl on all the socials and the Pinterest. Or my personal stuff and my education stuff is my Instagram handle is the Julianne Smith, or my website is juliannesmith.com. So you can come check me out, and I would love to engage with you guys. Come check me out. I will, send me a DM or something, or email me, and I will be happy to take a look at any one of your listeners' Pinterest accounts and give you some ideas and things to fix. So yeah, feel free to DM me. I would love it.
Yay. That sounds so great. It has been really fun talking to you. It makes me have so many ideas about how we could even improve our Pinterest for Biz Birthday Bash. We have one, guys, that is out there. And we had someone helping us with it, thank goodness. But
I don't think I won't be looking at that.
Yeah. You have to. So thank you.
Well, I mean, listen, I have one client, they are podcasters too. You have so much amazing information that's here on the podcast. Pinterest is like a way to kind of get those nuggets out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I need to I think focus on that and think about that a little more again. Because once we lost the person who was helping us out with it, for no reason other than she found a different full-time position. Like there was nothing weird about us parting ways or anything, because she was entirely wonderful the whole time that we worked with her. But I have just we've kind of just let the ball drop on that. But I'm feeling re-inspired.
Good. I love it. I hope we did inspire, and that's the whole point of Pinterest. They want to be this positive, inspirational environment. Mm-hmm. And that's the point.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. I'm so excited for all this to go live and for everyone to hear it. So, all right, everybody, we will talk to you guys next time. Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that, or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys, seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020 and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and is full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.